I come from the generation, and I'll date myself. Some of you will like me when I'm done, and some of you will hate me, but that's okay. I come from the generation that first experienced home computers in our classrooms. I was a sophomore in high school when they put a computer lab in and actually allowed us to go and take classes on how to program computers. I had seen the big building-sized computers before that, but I had never seen a small enough computer to sit on my desk. It had 64K of memory. Forget megabytes. Nobody knew what a megabyte was back then, but 64K of memory. And the very first program I wrote didn't run. And I called the teacher and I said, I don't understand what I did wrong. She says, well, Jeanine, your program requires a computer about 5 times the size of the one you wrote it for. So I had to size down my program, and it actually ran beautifully. So I started very early with computer programming. And over the years, I have become very adept at working with computers, learn how to build them, repair them, and help people with computer issues. And I have had some very humorous experiences along the way that I'd like to share. Some of them are personal experiences, or some of them are things that have been shared by others with me. Because as the old generation, I'll go ahead and get in trouble up front, the older generation, and I include my parents and many of my friends in that generation, they learned how to type on typewriters. The computer was a foreign object to them until they were well into their careers in a lot of cases. So they were learning a whole new way of doing things. Change is inevitable and change is good, but I have to admit that they caused some interesting scenarios. My father-in-law actually has worked as an IT tech for a book company for many years, and he would take customer support phone calls. And he called me one day, he says, you are not going to believe the call I got today. And I said, oh, try me, I've heard some good ones before. He says, okay. He says, this woman called me this morning, and she says, excuse me, sir, the drink holder in my computer broke. Ma'am, there is no drink holder in your computer. She says, yes, there is. There's a drink holder in my computer, and I don't understand why it won't work. It broke. And he's trying to figure out what on earth she's talking about. So he said, could you please explain to me what drink holder you're talking about? She goes, you know, the one at the top. You push the little button, and it comes out, and there's a spot for the drink. And she said, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, obviously we're talking about the CD drive. This was something brand new, and this woman had no idea. Needless to say, that wasn't covered under warranty. She had to pay for a new CD drive. My sister-in-law was working in a hospital, and they put in a brand new system there. And one of the lab techs, and I don't want to offend any of my more experienced friends around the room, but some of you will definitely relate to this. My father would be one who would do this. There was an older tech there, probably in his 60s at the time. He'd never seen a computer before, and the input on the screen said, enter the specimen here. So he called the tech guys a little bit later on and said, I don't understand, the computer keyboard won't work anymore.
Okay. Oh, no.
Of course, he had entered the specimen into the keyboard, not by typing it. People have different interpretations of what's expected of computers. So a lot of times you'll find that when there's a problem with the computer, we call it computer error. It's not the computer, it's usually the operator error. And these have caused many funny stories along the ways, but they've also allowed for some very interesting error codes to be created by IT guys who don't want to offend the person that they're standing in front of, but are letting other tech people around the room understand that what just happened had nothing to do with the hardware. One of my favorites is the ID10T error. Has anybody ever heard of that error? It's a very serious error, as I'm sure you're aware. And if you write it out, it's ID10T. And when you write it down, you realize it is.
That would be me.
I have a few people in my office who are that way as well. And one of them, I call her the clicker. She's the clicker. She'll call me and she'll say, Jeanine, my computer won't work again. It's got the hourglass and it won't move. It won't do anything. And I'll walk over and I can look at how many programs she's got running, and I'll see she has 10 copies of the same program trying to open, because it didn't open immediately, so she kept clicking it. So she's a clicker. And inevitably, if I end task on about 9 of the 10, the computer all of a sudden starts to work. Imagine that. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but it happens every other day. I appreciate teaching people how to use their computers, but there does come a point where you have to laugh at them because it's obvious they just don't get it. And she's one of those people. Now, my father recently got his first home computer, his first laptop. My mother's had one for years, and Dad always said, oh, no, don't let me touch a computer. I don't want to know anything about it. Well, they made him get one at work and start using it. And so he had started learning the basics of it and starting to understand little bits and pieces of it, and Mom decided to get him a laptop for his birthday. And the first thing he did, of course, was learn how to play a game. He said, this is cool. You can't do that at work. You know, the government doesn't let you play games on the computers at work, so he doesn't get to play games. So he learned how to play games on the computer. Then he called me one day and says, Jeanine, I'm trying to send email and I can't get it to go anywhere. He says, what am I doing wrong? I said, well, what program are you using, Dad? He says, well, your mom put something on here called Outlook. He says, I don't understand. He says, I type the messages and I close the window and it doesn't go anywhere. Daddy, do you hit the send button? He says, oh, is that what that button is? So I had to tease him a little bit, of course, because he knew, that's why he called me, is he knew I would be able to help him out. Obviously, I've helped lots of folks with serious issues, but my point today was to kind of make light of some of the things that we deal with our computers, because computers are a part of life. And even the most advanced one, I as a programmer occasionally will do things where I'm the one calling the tech support guy and they're going, I got an ID 10 down the line here because you didn't figure this one out. And it's something simple that I should have known how to do. So even as an advanced computer person, I make those mistakes. And so there are days when I personally enjoy retelling stories of some of the fun things I've seen along the way. Mr. Toastmaster.